Alright. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ahmad Shafi. I am a first presenter. I will present about introduction and history. So firstly, I will introduction. Broadcasting is move the next slide. Uh, Broadcasting is the distribution of audio or video content to a dispersed audience in any electronic mass communication medium, but most commonly radio wave in a one-to-many model. Uh, Broadcasting began with AM radio, which gained popularity around 1920 due to the widespread available to vacuum tube radio transmitter and receiver. The transmission of radio and television program over radio wave from a radio or television station to home receivers is known as over-the-air (OTA) or terrestrial broadcasting, and it is require most country. Transmission over a wire or cable, such as cable television, which retransmits OTA station with their permission. Over-the-air broadcasting is typically associated with radio and television through both radio and television transmission have recently begun to be distributed via cable. The receiving party could be public or small subset. The point is that anyone with the appropriate receiving technology and equipment. Broadcasting encompasses both government managed services with such as public radio, community radio, and public television, as well as private commercial radio and television. This definition includes private or two-way telecommunication transmission. Next slide. Uh, Next slide. For a general history of TV and radio broadcasting. The history of TV and radio broadcasting is generally recognized that the first radio transmission was made from a temporary station set up by Guglielmo Marconi in 1895 on the islet of Wake. The radio broadcasting of music and talk intended to reach a dispersed audience started experimentally around 1905 until 1906 and commercially around 1920 to 1923. Very high frequency stations start 30 to 35 years later. In early days, radio station broadcast on the long wave, medium wave, and short wave band. However, in the United Kingdom, like Hungary and French, and some other places, from early as 1890, there was already a system whereby news, music, live theatre, music hall, fiction reading, and religious broadcasts were available in private home and other places via the conventional telephone line with subscriber being supplied with special personal headset. By the 1915, virtually every country had broadcasting system, typically one owned and operated by the government. Alternate mode include commercial radio as in United States or dual system with both state sponsor and commercial station. Introduced in Australia as early as 1924 with Canada following in 1932, and now today's most countries has evolved into dual system including UK by 1915. So that's all for me. I will pass to the next presenter, Akil.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Akil bin Alias. So I will present about the basic principle of the TV and radio broadcasting. Okay, so basically, broadcasting begin with AM radio. AM broadcasting is a radio broadcasting using amplitude modulation, AM transmission. Uh, Originally, all broadcasting was composed as of analog signals using analog transmission technique. But in 2000s, but in early 2000, broadcasters have switched to digital signals using digital transmission that have more benefits rather than the analog signal. Okay. The air broadcasting is usually associated with radio and television. Thought more recently, both radio and television transmission have begun to be distributed by cable. Okay, so radio broadcasting works by sending the audio signals through the air as radio waves from a transmitter picked up by an antenna and sent to a receiver. Okay, while the satellite television is a service that delivers television programming to viewers by relaying it from a communication satellite orbiting the Earth directly to the viewer's location. The signal are received via an outdoor parabolic antenna, commonly referred to as a satellite dish, and a low noise block down converter. Okay, so as you can see on the left side of the picture on figure 1, it explains about the flow diagram of the TV and radio broadcasting. The tower will produce the wave signal where it reach the satellite. After that, the signal from the satellite is transmitted to the end user via antenna for radio and satellite dish for television signal. Okay, so for the in figure 2 on the right side of the slide, the picture shows how the antenna receives a radio wave. It will then produce audio and picture to the viewers. Okay, that's all from me. I will proceed uh, the slide to the next presenter. Thank you.
Thank you, Akil. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ahmad Afiq bin Ibrahim. So I will present about the technique used in TV and radio broadcasting. First is telephone broadcasting, 1881 until 1932. Electronic broadcasting is from which is not counting data service offered by stock telegraph company from 1867. If ticker tapes are excluded from the definition, in 1881, French inventor Clement Ader introduced the telephone system, which were a telephone-based distribution system that allow customer to listen to live opera and theater performance over telephone lines. Telephone newspaper service for news and entertainment programming were developed in the 1890, particularly in large European cities, and have since grown in popularity. The first example of electrical or electronic broadcasting were this telephone-based subscription service, which provide a wide range of programs. Second is radio broadcasting. Experimentally from 1906, commercially from 1920. A transmitter send audio signal through the air as radio wave, which are picked up by antenna and sent to a receiver. Radio station can be connected in radio network to broadcast common radio programming via broadcast syndication, simulcasting, or subchannel. Third, television broadcasting or telecast. Experimentally from 1925, commercially from the 1930s, as an extension of radio to include video signal. Fourth, cable radio, also called cable FM, from 1924, and cable television from 1932. Both via coaxial cable, which began as a transmission medium for programs created by television station before developing into a vast universe of cable-made channel. Fifth, direct broadcast satellite (DBS) from 1974 and satellite radio from 1990 provide a mix of traditional radio or television broadcast content or both with a specific satellite radio program for direct to home broadcast broadcast program as opposed to studio network, uplink and downlink. Webcasting of video or television from 1993 and audio or radio from 1994 stream. This is provide a blend of traditional radio and television station broadcast program as well as dedicated internet radio and television. I think that's all from me. So next, I will pass to the next presenter. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Kajar Rifin. Today I would like to present about the advantage and disadvantage of the analog and digital signal. As we can know, nowadays most of the broadcaster has changed from analog to digital signal. Okay, these are the several advantages and disadvantages of analog signal and digital signal. Okay, first one is the analog signal. First one is for the advantage. The analog signal is easier to process. Then it has the higher density and can present more refined information. Then the analog signal use less of bandwidth than the digital signal. The analog communication system are less sensitive in terms of electrical tolerance. Okay, for the disadvantage, the data transmission at the long distance may result in undesirable signal disturbances. Okay. Number two, the analog signal are prone to generation loss. Okay. Number three, the analog signal are subject to noise and distortion as opposed to digital signal, which have much higher immunity. Lastly, the analog signal are subject to noise and distortion as opposed to the signal which has much higher immunity. Next. Okay, the advantage of the digital signal, it can convey information with less noise, distortion, and the interference. The digital signal processing is more flexible because it can be altered using digitally programmable systems. The digital circuit can be produced easily in mass quantity at comparatively low cost. Lastly, the digital signal can be transmitted over long distance. Okay, for the disadvantage of the digital signal, require a higher bandwidth for digital communication compared to the analog transmission. Then number two, the digital signal processing process the signal at high speed and comprise more internal hardware resources. This result require high power dissipation compared to analog signal processing, which include passive components that consume less of energy. Lastly, digital signal and processing are typically more complex. That's all for me. Thank you. I will pass to the next event.
Thank you, Tajul Arifin. First of all, my name is Muhammad Hanif bin Ruslan. For the next slide, I will present about areas of application. Broadcasting radio and TV is a very large segment of the mass media market, consisting of radio and television station and network that create content and acquire the right to broadcast tape, television and radio programs. However, there are many application areas of radio and television in human use in daily life. Next, we go to the radio. Radio is the technology of signaling and communicating using radio wave. They are generated by an electronic device called a transmitter, connect to an antenna and radiates the wave and is received by another antenna, connect to a radio receiver. Radio is very widely used in modern technology in radio communication, which is radar, radio navigation, radio control, and other application. First, radar. Radar is a radio locations. Radar is a radio location method used to locate and track a craft, craft, missiles, ship, vehicle, and also to map weather pattern and terrain. The radar set consists of a transmitter and receiver. The transmitter emits a narrow beam of radio wave which is swept around the surrounding space. When the beam strikes a target object, radio wave are reflected to the receiver. The direction of the beam reveals the object location. Second is radio navigation. Radio navigation is the application of radio frequency to determine a position of an object on the earth, either the vessel or an obstruction like radio location. It is type of radio determination that is a distance by measurement of time of flight between one transmitter and multiple receiver. Distance difference by measurement of time arrival of signal from one transmitter to multiple receiver. In consumer electronic, next, remote control. Remote control can be used to operate devices such as television set, DVD player, or other home appliance. The remote control can allow the operate of device that are out the convenient reach for direct operation of control. They function best when used from a short distance. The next slide is application areas is in television. There are three-part invention, which is the TV camera that turns a picture and sound into a signal. The transmitter that sends the signal through the air, and the TV receiver that capture the signal and turn it back into a picture and sounds. Television is a telecommunication medium used for transmitting moving image in black and white or in color, and in 2 or 3 dimension and sounds. The term can refer to a television set, a television show, or the medium of television transmission. And television is a mass medium and advertising and entertainment, news and sport. Next, for the conclusion, radio and television used to convey information from one person to for one person or entity to another are known as communicator of information. Radio and television broadcast has evolved from analog to digital, and digital broadcasting is more reliable and analog nowadays because of the lack of frequency space. The digital signal can carry more information than an analog signal, So more sounds and video option can be traveled to the TV set. Then digital TV signal can offer multiple programming choice and multitasking. For example, a station and for example, a station can broadcast high definition transmission from HDTV user or use the same bandwidth. It can transmit up to 3 standard definitions SDTV transmissions, meaning the difference show on one digital channel. So students can understand and know the general history of radio and TV broadcasting, uh, the basic principle of operations, the method used, the advantage and disadvantage of technique, and the areas of application in real life that can be used when working in industry. That's all from us. Thank you.
Thank you.